Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tim Flagg, and I'm the Chief Executive of UKAI. It is a pleasure to be joining you this afternoon for this really important discussion around the UK and Ukraine and AI innovation. So I think I'll introduce our speakers in just a moment. We have some fantastic speakers today who will be giving us their perspective on what we can do to increase collaboration between our two countries. But I just also wanted to give you a little bit of background from my perspective as well. So UKAI is the trade body for AI businesses across the UK. And I think we see a huge opportunity to collaborate with Ukraine. And in fact, in my businesses that I've been building over the last few years, we have worked very closely with Ukrainian development teams. I've always been really fascinated by the work ethic that the Ukrainian developers have. And also, I felt it very personally when I've been talking to developers who are so industrious, working so hard, and the level of quality that comes from them is incredible. And in the middle of a call, their lights literally go off and I hear the sirens. And I say to them, look, if you need to go, it's fine. And they just carry on. And I can't tell you what an impact that has had on me and the people working in my team to see the level of courage and the dedication and professionalism of people working in Ukraine. And because of that and many other examples that I've heard of businesses in the UK working with Ukrainian developers, I think that we really want to do all we can to support and to further collaborate with Ukrainian companies. I also think there's a huge opportunity here, because if you think about now the adversity which these Ukrainian teams are working under, but once that adversity is gone, as we all pray one day soon it will go, just think what strengths the Ukrainian teams are going to have. They're going to have not just incredible English and incredible development skills, but also the experience of working so professionally and so effectively under such adverse conditions, and that will allow them to leapfrog ahead. And I know we're going to cover a number of fields which are areas where they're already leading because of the necessity of the conflict there. But cybersecurity, which is something which is affecting all of us, I think you're going to see Ukraine become a real powerhouse in that space just because of what they've had to go through. And of course, in autonomous vehicles and robotics, they've really been having to figure this out literally on the ground every day. Just for survival. So I think there'll be a huge opportunity there as well. And I think part of what we're excited at UKAI about is working collaboratively with other countries to learn from them. And I know also that up in Estonia, I was talking to Taavi Roivas last week about the way in which they've taken the lead in building a digital government and really driving through digitalization. And I think there's opportunities for the UK to collaborate with those countries as well, with up in Estonia, the Baltics, and bringing Ukraine into that cradle as well. So many opportunities, and it really is a privilege to be able to introduce this session today and then hear from our speakers. So after our speakers have given their keynote and explored a bit more around how they see the collaboration working, we're going to open this up to the audience, and I really encourage you to get involved and to ask questions. I know I'm going to be particularly interested to hear more about how we can engage more with those developers and what's happened to this concept of being able to replace some of the platforms with maybe a Ukrainian marketplace where we can go and find and work with developers directly. There's a lot of scope for finding out more about the tech bridge as well. But please do be thinking about those questions and put them in the Q&A box, which is up at the top there. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our three speakers today. We've got Nelly Blinova, who's the head of AI International Partnerships at the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. We've got Oswin Kruger-Ruiz, who's the government lead for forward deployed engineering at 11 Labs. And we've got Eric Applewhite, who's the director at Deloitte. So three experts will be giving us their perspectives on how we can build better collaboration that will allow us to have more innovation between the UK and Ukraine. So now I'm going to hand over to Nelly. So Nelly, over to you if you can hear us okay.
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone, and apologies for being late. I don't know, something happened with my Teams on the laptop and just didn't let me in, but I'm here now. So I will be happy to share our experience, and I would kindly ask Orina to share the presentation. If it's not already on the screen, yes, oh, I think that's here. So I will just start and in general, happy to present our approach, our vision, and to find additional points to collaboration. And today we want to show practically that AI first state is not in the future. For us, it's already a reality. And this is something we are building today. So I will briefly tell you about the ministry and our top project. As you may know, we established the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine around 6 years ago, and our mission was to build the most convenient state in the world for citizens and technology businesses. And from the very beginning, we started creating projects that impact our government. So over the 6 years, we have undergone transformation that other countries sometimes cannot do in 20 years, and we have launched thousands of products and projects on the digital services. Here on the screen, you can see our flagship project, Dia Super App. It's the digital platform that we have both on the portal and on the app. On the portal, we have more than 6 million users and more than 200 plus services available for our citizens. And on the Dia app, we have more than 23 plus million users and 33 digital documents available online. Basically, Ukrainians do not ever carry their physical IDs of their physical documents because we have everything in our digital platform. But no, of course, sometimes we do have to carry them, but it depends to the specific projects that are not quite used. Also, we have MRIA project. It's the digital educational platform, and more than 2,800 schools connected this year. And this is the unique application for pupils, their parents, and teachers to create the educational curriculum, to have their grades, gamification. So it's like a single point of contact for everyone involved in the educational process. The electronic diary, and we are currently integrating AI tutor there as well. So each child has their own Aristotle. We also have Brave On platform. It's the platform to help Ukraine win the technological war, and many other projects that you can see here on the screen. And I will be happy to talk over them later on in a separate meeting. But for the sake of time, let's just move on. There are just a couple of other projects that you can see. It's only the parts of things that have been implemented, but all of these are our ecosystem projects. So basically, our mission has since evolved, and now we are moving from the digital state to an agentic state. It's a new operating system for a nation where AI-powered system services can serve citizens proactively, anticipate their needs, and adapt in real time. And again, as I said, for us, it's not a distant vision, it's already a reality. In a couple of seconds, you will understand why. Our goal in terms of that is quite ambitious, is to be among top 3 countries worldwide for AI development and implementation in public sector by 2030. And I'd say that our partners from the UK and Deloitte, fcdo, and Level Labs are greatly supporting us and helping us to achieve this mission and be on the same page as we are. Our goal is to integrate solution in the public sector, defense, medicine, education, business. And for that, we launched on February 4th last year, Win-Win AI Center of Excellence, with the great help of our Deloitte colleagues who helped us create the design operation model for the Win-Win AI Center of Excellence. And now this is the key government project that focuses on AI development in Ukraine. Currently, our center and in general AI team has 3 main strategic priorities, which is national AI strategy, AI sovereignty, and AI products. National AI strategy will become the key official document for AI development. The strategy will allow us to make economic breakthrough while using responsible and trustworthy AI. For that, we are working together with our Estonian colleagues, and it should be available for official public consultations in a few weeks, and it should be submitted to the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine this week. Oh, sorry, not this week, this month. And basically, it will be the official document that will outline Ukraine's vision. And last week, by the way, we were on a business trip in London, and we met with our Deloitte and 11 Labs colleagues, and we presented a short draft version of this to our Deloitte partners, including Eric. The second pillar is the AI infrastructure, and for that we have two tracks. The first one is the procurement and purchasing of top-tier NVIDIA-based infrastructure, AI Factory, which will be in Ukraine, established in the second quarter of 2026. Now it's already on the way to Ukraine, and this first part of the infrastructure will serve us for public, defense, and education sectors. But of course, we want to move forward, and later on, we will need more infrastructure, our on-premise infrastructure, to secure our sensitive projects. Another part on the AI sovereignty is creating our own Ukrainian LLM. For that, we are working together with the Ukrainian biggest telecom company, Kyivstar. And the idea is for this large language model to be trained on Ukrainian data for Ukrainians that will understand our context, language, culture, and form foundation of all future AI solutions in the state. I think that you're pretty aware of the problems that are addressed with the LLM, but especially for Ukraine, it is critical because it ensures our data sovereignty on independent infrastructure, guarantees deep understanding of Ukrainian context, and services as foundational agent for future and current state AI solutions from analytics to citizen services. And as you see, our own LLM will be cheaper than commercial models. It will allow us to avoid misinformation and Russian propaganda, which is critical in our current circumstances. Regarding the products, Ukraine acts as a hand-on implementer rather than just a regulator, using AI to drive efficiency and economic growth. In just 8 months, it's already more than 8 months, we launched more than 13 active projects focusing on the priority streams, DAI, legal and HR tools, and R&D. So I told you that Ukraine is moving toward an agentic state, and now I want to show you an example why we are saying that this is already happening. Basically, here, the one request or voice command will be enough to get results. We are transforming DIA, which is the logical step because it's our flagship project, into full AI agent where proactive and always available. No forms, no waiting. And I'm happy to present the DIA AI, the world's first national AI agent that delivers services directly through the chat based on the agentic approach. It consults on 200 plus services and provides support 24/7. But the uniqueness of this project is that we can execute service directly through the chat. The adoption is immediate. More than 200,000 users have tried it, and with the first service live, and ordering over 6,000 of income certificates. And to make it for you easier to understand what's going on here, I'm happy to show a quick video.
The world's first national AI assistant is here now in Ukraine. Skip the portal search, get it just one click. The AI analyzes your request and delivers a ready-to-use service or tells you exactly how to get it. 24/7 availability. Talks like a real person. Answers in seconds. One chat, 200 plus services. It can help you start a business, get official documents, get married, renew your driver's license. All of this is in DIA. AI on the DIA portal. Just type, I need an income certificate, and it's sent straight to your email and personal account. DIA AI, always here for you.
So this was the presentation and how it works, and it works faster than the video because video is just like that. But yes, you can be sure that it works as it's supposed to work. And this is just a start. Our roadmap is extensive, and you can see here on the screen that we plan to integrate DIA on our app. And I will remind you that that's more than 23 plus million of users. We want to scale the list of services that are available in the chat. Now it's just the income certificate, but just in a couple of months, even earlier, you will see more services available there. And last but not least, we are integrating voice in our DIA AI portal. And last week, we attended the 11 Labs conference where we presented demo versions of the upcoming projects, and we're happy to share that. And as far as I know, Oswin will will do something, and that will prove that we are not just joking, and to have real results. And of course, this is not just ends with the DIA AI. We have plenty of other key products, and here on the screen you can see just a couple of them. We integrated our support center, and now more than 85% of inquiries are handled by AI. We built AI legal analysis tools. Previously, lawyers spent months analyzing 2,000 acts like yearly, but now they can perform 100% of analysis, and results are delivered in 72 hours, which is the great result. And we have more projects coming for civil servants. Happy to discuss them when we have time. As we mentioned before, one of our stream is the HR stream, and we transformed the recruiting and onboarding part, and we reduced the time to 45% per vacancy. And also recently launched onboarding assistant. This is internal tool for our MDT. Above that, we created the digital twin of our former Deputy Prime Minister Mikhailo Fedorov to collect citizens' feedback and ideas, and which resumes in the chat format. And thanks again to our partnerships with 11 Labs, the twin features the voice commands, and you can have like a real dialogue with the former Minister of Digital Transformation. And what is also important, it's not just that every person can have this dialogue, but only those who access through DIA. So basically people authorize, so it reduces the number of requests that we don't want to have. In terms of AI in education, we will be integrating it in the MRIA platform, as I mentioned before, and also digital platform DIA Osvita, which builds and enhances digital skills of our citizens from the age of 6 to 96. And another track, we of course cannot talk about AI without talking about the war. And now AI is used for target recognition, navigation, AV, and communication system, but mostly the information is confidential. But if there is any interest, we're happy to continue the conversation with the partners for whom it is the relevant topic. Building an AI agentic state, we want our technologies to serve citizens proactively, as already said, and therefore we focus our R&D on key pillars: is personalization education with AI tutors, again, MRIA, boost of administrative service efficiencies, administrative service center efficiency, and this is something we are now working together with Deloitte, scaling citizen services to millions through engagement and innovative feedback mechanisms, and automating internal processes via hybrid cloud and on-premise models. And all of this would not be possible without the policy grounds. We are not working only on tech side, of course, because you're the ministry, but also part of our team is responsible to create the necessary legislation. And we have a really interesting approach to that. For policy in AI, Ukraine is taking the strategic bottom-up approach while we are moving towards the alignment with the UKAI Act. So to be straightforward, the UKAI Act is not yet implemented in Ukraine, but we are preparing for that. For this, we have the first stage where we creating different mechanisms and models for our citizens and businesses to be ready for the implementation. And at the same time, we are observing how the current implementation of the UKAI Act is going, and we already see that there are some changes may apply. So we want to be on track. We want to make sure that we keep the pro-innovative approach while also adapting to the EU, considering our Euro integration obligations. And one of the projects which might be in interest for you in terms of our white paper in AI development, it's the Sandbox, and we launched Sandbox for AI in blockchain startups with 21 experts already working. It is an initiative similar to the regulatory sandboxes in Europe, and we help new companies to check their products and the tech and legal side, and to receive free support from the government to unlock more markets for them to ensure the technologies are aligned with EU and international legislations. To conclude, I'd like to invite you to the partnership and highlight how we can cooperate. We have many partners who support our agentic state transformation and our goal to become the AI first nation, and we would like to build more projects together for our international community. I'd say that our partnership offers a unique environment for civil AI innovation, and I hope that our partners here will say the same. We are the living lab where solutions move rapidly from concept to national implementation, validated by millions of users. It provides a shared platform for co-creating agentic state solutions and demonstrated how proactive AI solves complex social changes and problems. Ultimately, the collaboration allows us to establish different practical stress-tested regulatory benchmarks that will shape the global standards for the 21st century, maybe 22nd. I don't know why I wanted to say that, but maybe I know something. And what is most important is we are using the win-win framework, win-win partnership framework. We are confident that we can pick the best technologies and showcase them for the whole world, delivering value to the citizens at the same time. Our situation is unique. We have political will, we have speed, we have the real platform for testing world case technologies. And just to conclude, I also wanted to show two photos from our last week a business trip. So we had a really nice chat at the 11 Labs conference, and we had a really nice discussion with our partners from Deloitte. So thank you for having us in London. And yes, we are happy to talk about AI, and not just talk, but build the foundation for AI-powered future for Ukraine and for the whole world. And thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take any questions. But mostly, I would like our partners and our speakers to present their perspective, because I know that we started a little bit later because of me. So apologies for that again.
Thank you, Nelly. That was really inspirational. And I think it's incredible to see that national mission that you have there for building this AI capability in the national AI state. There's so much we can learn from the Ukraine. I wanted to just put a quick question to you before I hand over to Oswin for the next section. We have a lot of businesses here, and I'm sure a lot of them are here because they want to be able to help. What's the one thing, the one takeaway that you'd say is an area that you need help the most with at the moment?
Okay, this is a really great question, and there are a couple of things that I can say, but perhaps I would start with highlighting that the common joint things that we can always do and that help us a lot improve themselves to be effective as the knowledge exchange is the joint R&D and joint POC development. And I think, again, 11 Labs and Deloitte team are great examples of how this framework works. For us, it is important not just to build single POC, but if we see the potential for the strategic partnership, we can outline the track where it is possible and work together on the specific project. It is one of the takeaways. Another one would be that in general, we are open to be integrated in the ecosystem. We are working now on national AI strategy, which will allow the international ecosystem to be more integrated in the Ukrainian processes. So that would be the second thing. But obviously, we are happy for the companies, for the business partners to reach out to us if they have any technologies that they think could be valuable for Ukraine and in general for the countries, and we can discuss how we can potentially build something together. Our goal is to create things that are of value, not just for Ukraine, but for other countries, for other businesses. We want to make sure that everybody benefits from that, and that we can simplify processes instead of creating more and more solutions when we can just use one great technology and showcase it for the whole world.
Amazing. Thank you, Nelly. That's very helpful.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to hand over to Oswin to come in to pick up. So Oswin, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tim, and thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to speak about this partnership in 11 Labs and Ukraine. I'm briefly going to talk about a little bit about us, the partnership, but I also want to highlight how we are actually learning from this partnership and how our own approach to government work is in large part shaped by this collaboration. For those of you that don't know us, we're a fairly young company that was founded by Mati and Piotr, both Polish founders, who essentially wanted to solve a problem that is very uniquely European, and that's kind of language barriers. In this case, it revolved around Polish movies often being, foreign movies into Polish often being dubbed by the same person, speaking out all characters. And they really thought that, voice AI, we had some things already, but with new AI technologies could be done in a much more natural and human sounding way. And this is really the beginning of the 11 Labs journey. Today, we are a global company operating out of London, but really present in all geographies and all markets, because language is kind of the central piece of our technology, valued at 11 billion, and we have millions of users throughout the world. And very specifically, we're also increasingly partnering with both enterprise but also government customers. We actually last week, as part of the summit, announced our 11 Labs for Government initiative, which really revolves around us working with the public sector. And as mentioned, a lot of that is stemming from the partnership we have with the Ukrainian Ministry of Digital Transformation. I think in terms of the partnership, I want to just quickly run you through the timeline. So this all began in August 2025, where we began having these first conversations, and we created this kind of evaluation setup and iterating with the team, as well as scoping the different use cases of how our technology could be used in the public sector. And already there, we started seeing kind of the speed, as well as the excitement around like really solving issues for the citizens, as opposed to just doing kind of AI for the sake of AI. With that kind of speed and enthusiasm, both kind of from our end, but as well from the ministry, we were able to, in record time, I think, for public sector, bring a first use case into production, which is what Nelly has already mentioned, the digital twin of Mikhailo Fedorov, where, with his voice, citizens could interact with. And I think this was announced at the IT Arena in late September. And within that, we also announced a strategic partnership to kind of work together on all these various use cases, from kind of Dia, Maria, as well as some other contact center use cases to really help in that interaction between public sectors and humans, because we as 11 Labs think that voice is a very natural interface for humans, and we think that it's a very important one for government and citizens as well. And from then the collaboration continued, and we had a nice milestone in November when we, as the 11 Labs team, went on site to Kyiv to join the Win-Win conference together with our CEO and founder Matti, who participated as a speaker in this conference, and we also collaborated a lot. So we stayed for a whole week, and apart from kind of formalizing the relationship in an MOU, we actually also agreed to kind of an investment commitment to kind of provide our technology to the ministry as well as other ministries. We actually had several very, very effective meetings together with the MDT team, with other parts of government, where we also learned a lot about how a digital transformation ministry can actually expand its impact beyond its own ministry. And we started working very closely with the engineers as well from the ministry on actually integrating and implementing the solutions, as well as figuring out the different work streams. And then this has continued, and in February, literally last week, we had our summit in London, where we had the pleasure to be joined by Danilo, Nelly, and Ola from the team. We announced the 11 Labs for Government initiative, as well as showcased how our technology can be used in this sector. But most importantly, we had this presence from the NDT team, actually showing some kind of real case scenarios and explaining how they are implementing, similar to what Nelly has discussed today. And this has been an amazing showcase, because it's really kind of like walking the talk and showing how things can work in reality. And actually, with that, I'm going to briefly talk about some of the use cases we're working on together, but then we're going to move on to a quick demo so you can all see it in action. That first digital twin was the kind of initial product in production, but probably the main key project we're working together with MDT is the Dia AI portal where voice will be added as a interface for citizens to interact with. And we think of kind of this voice interface along different kind of pillars of value, from just kind of having a more natural way to interact with technology. We truly believe it's the most natural one and the future of how we interact with technology. But then there are also points around accessibility and inclusion, especially because, you know, for some folks, voice can be a much more natural way than, for example, clicking around in a website or even writing text to interact with a chatbot. So this is in progress. We're going to see a demo in a minute. Another line of work, which we also see on a global scale, is around education. I think we all see AI, especially agentic AI, being incredibly powerful at being able to offer support for much more personalized education that really reaches and adapts to all the different students versus a much more standardized education that we might be used to. So we think there's a lot of hope here, and very, very happy to partner with the Maria team on this as well. And then we have a series of other lines of work around kind of citizen support. For example, recently we've been working on a POC with the Ministry of Economy for helping kind of regular questions on the phone line that they get that often can't be manned by anyone due to the difficulties, to have an automated agent that is available 24/7 and can handle a large volume of these calls. With that, let's jump into seeing a quick demonstration of the DIA portal.
Hey. Hello, how can I help you with government services today?
Yeah, so I have a problem in my building. My elevator is like constantly turned off because of the outages. Can you help me with that?
I'll help you with information about elevator outages in buildings. Let me check what resources are available for this issue. I found information about a government program that can help with your elevator outage problem. The program provides financial assistance for apartment buildings to purchase generators and energy equipment like batteries and solar panels, which would provide backup power during outages. I've sent you a link with details about how to apply for this help.
Great. And while we're here, can you please order the income certificate of the quarter that was before the previous one?
Your income certificate for Q3 2025 has been successfully ordered. You'll receive an email notification when it's ready, and I've sent you a link to download it from your personal cabinet.
I hope you could all hear that. It's in English for the purposes of us and the audience, but I can let Nelly confirm that this also operates in Ukrainian and sounds hopefully just as good. In conscious of times, I'm going to jump straight into some of the learnings we've taken from this partnership, and you know how Ukraine is kind of really leading the way both on digital but also on the agentic state. I think one key thing that really struck us from the beginning is focusing very much on the need, right? Given the situation in Ukraine, I think what we learned very quickly is the Ministry of Digital Transformation is trying to make the life of everyday citizens as kind of seamless and convenient as possible, and digital and agentic tools can be an incredibly powerful way of doing this. So really focusing on that piece, something that as we start working with other governments, think is very important to establish a clear need and a problem to solve, as well as kind of focusing and scoping the use cases to something that will have an impact versus just trying to do AI for the sake of AI, because we all want to do AI now, but AI we need to remember isn't a purpose in itself. It's a tool, is a way of solving issues, and that's what we need to focus on in the first place. The other key learning we've had is really the speed of operation, and that to us has kind of been seen in different pillars. One is the ability to take new technologies and experiment very quickly. Apologies. Here we go. So the ability to kind of do the first MVPs very quickly, and that is a setup for having that kind of test environment, but also the engineers and the talent, as well as the mandate and the policy around it. But then not only that first version of a test, of an experiment, but actually the iteration. I think specifically with AI, the first demo, the first MVP is relatively quick and fast to do, but a lot of what needs to be done and a lot of the hard work is actually in that iteration and the feedback loops to improve these tools to actually make them effective. And that's kind of endemic to the generative AI. Then the last one is around bringing things into production, which we often see as one of the kind of biggest bottlenecks, both in large enterprises and government elsewhere. And this is needed to have like any sort of real impact to move beyond the MVP to kind of real deployments that are generating value. And that obviously does require a certain level of mandate, but it often ties back to the need. If the need is big enough, the problem to be solved is important enough, often the ability to go into production is a lot easier. And then the last one, I think, was some key learnings around the structure of the MDT team. I think we really been impressed by kind of how the team has been structured with product managers and a large number of engineers that are very hands-on, which is maybe less common in the public sector. And we think this is very important, especially as new technologies come. The last one is how the structure of having deputy digital ministers in all of the ministries that kind of communicate and also coordinate with the Ministry of Digital Transformation can kind of help not keep the impact just in one ministry, but really across all the other kind of units of government that have a mission towards their citizens. And obviously the partnership with the private sector, we think is important. We've seen it work very successfully in this case and others. And we also think that's a core pillar of kind of bringing these technologies to help citizens. Overall, I think one kind of trend we see in government is that these voice technologies and conversational technologies and the kind of vision of the agentic state can be incredibly powerful at really helping solve citizens and help the communication between government and its citizens, which often can be a bit frustrating, especially in some other European countries with lots of bureaucracy. So that kind of delivery of public services, we think, is undergoing a huge transformation, and Ukraine is really leading the way, and we're proud to be part of this. Last but not least, obviously, security is one of the most important things. That's something we really focus on as well in here. With that, thank you so much for having us. I'll stop there and happy to take any question.
Thanks, Oswin. And I know our audience will probably have questions later. A quick question from me. It was incredible to see the way you framed this around voice as being a driver of adoption. I'd love to understand if you can share a little bit about how voice has actually led to more people in Ukraine using this than might otherwise be adopting this type of technology. Do you have anything you can share there that might be a bit of a case study for other countries, the UK in particular, about how they could use voice as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, voice as a channel, and I think that the ministry is better positioned to share actual data around kind of usage and adoption for things like the digital twin that is already in production. But one trend we've definitely seen as well in other government deployments is how certain echelons of society are much more comfortable in voice than they might be over text or visual interfaces, and that can vary by geography, can vary by age, and many different things. But really, it's around that kind of like accessibility and giving more interfaces to more people, as well as the kind of ease of just communicating via voice that a lot of people find a lot more natural than it may be kind of some other channels that are much newer, right? Like as humans, we've been communicating via voice a lot longer than written text, and even a lot longer than kind of computers. So that's really one of the core pillars for us.
Thank you. I feel like we need to have another conversation, maybe a longer one. But now I'm keen to bring in Eric, and Eric in particular, you've got a perspective on the international collaboration, which I think is going to be key to how we can bring this or take this forward. So Eric, over to you.
Thanks, Tim. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. And hi, Nelly and Oswin, really enjoyed that. Just bear with me and I'll talk to you a little bit about the power of a trilateral partnership between the United Kingdom, Ukraine, and the government of Estonia. Just turn my transcription off here. So in December 2023, those three nations signed a trilateral partnership to collaborate on AI and e-government. in particular. And just to kind of show on this slide, and again, apologies, Deloitte should probably be at the bottom. We have this amazing triple partnership between the United Kingdom, Ukraine, and the Ministry of Digital Transformation, and Estonia, just Digi within Estonia. And I suppose maybe if I lead with the end, I feel like there's this proverb in every language, and it says, "Show me a man's friends and I'll tell you about him." When you think about the power and the kind of innovation and expertise that each of these three nations could bring, and their combined expertise and ambition against the question of how you would advance e-government, help our civil servants deliver better and faster and cheaper services, and create a better society, particularly against the backdrop of geopolitical conflict and the urgency that was kind of developing there. An absolutely incredible ecosystem to be a part of. So Deloitte serves in a role as kind of transformation partner or vendor. The work that we undertook for the partnership and with the partnership started with a really interesting question. What should Ukraine's national Gen AI COE be? And what should it do? What capabilities should it have? And what outcomes and value should it drive for Ukrainian society? But as a broader lesson for our own British and Estonian societies as well. So from our Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office in the UK, which is our development and diplomatic ministry, with really strong collaboration with DCIT, which is our Department of Science, Innovation, and Technology, supported by Just Digi in Estonia, and in particular the Chief Data Officer and his office, we set out to lay out, what of all the things that a national Gen AI COE could do, what should it do? So our activity was really to help establish the operating model for the COE, but in particular, and Oswin, I think, alluded to this, one of the great things about working with Ukraine and in the partnership is you start with a very clear set of expectations and ambitions. And one of the things our Ukrainian colleagues in MDT knew was that of all the things their Gen AI COE could do, it needed to have an AI incubator that could go from concept to POC through alpha and beta and pretty quickly to scale. So that was the first capability that needed to be designed at a deeper level. And I think in a really switched on and intuitive way, the other thing that we knew as a guiding principle was, as we launched that incubator, value had to be at the center of that. So you needed to also build a monitoring and evaluation function where value sat at the center. What value will AI drive? And then how will we measure in a consistent way for everything that we deliver that value, so we can make better choices about what to invest in, so we can know what our ROI is, all of that. And then from there, we were able to transition, I think, in a really terrific way from the design and the stand-up of the COE to actually delivering a set of POCs, which are in train, and I'll tell you about in a minute. But just to give you a sense of kind of pace and the roadmap of this. So we started in October of 2024, and by really December of 2025, January of 2025, the COE was launched. So really rapid collaboration. And I suppose I would also echo, Oswin, one of the things that you said, that there is a real agility and pace and practicality to the work that the partnership has done together. And I think that is one of the things that has been interesting, and we've also learned from, if I can say it that way, around how do you keep moving in a really practical sense to deliver something at pace that delivers. So I think from October to January, designing and standing up a national Gen AI COE is no small accomplishment, and it couldn't have been done without the help of DCIT and fcdo, who funded the work and leaned in to deliver the work, and help from Just Digi in Estonia, and of course our colleagues in MDT. We found in a serendipitous way, because one of the things we did is we did a lot of global benchmarking, a lot of looking across the world at what Gen AI COEs do. And one of the fortunate things is the closest comparable, I think, to Ukraine's ambition. It's not the same, but it's actually the UK's incubator for AI. So lots of comparables there, and some warm, I think, bilateral relationships formed there between DCIT and I.AI and colleagues at MDT. Estonia as well brought a terrific focus on citizen value and data, and brought the idea of how do you expose open data and data for value? How do you enable citizens to access and transact with their data in a kind of open and trusted way from a position of value to them? So how might you, as an example, authorize your tax administration to provide an income document such that you get a mortgage approval from a bank in 3 days instead of 2 weeks? That kind of ambition, that kind of e-government thinking and ambition was just incredible to be in the middle of. And you had this amazing kind of coming together of ambition and know-how across this partnership that I think enabled the COE to stand up so quickly. From there, we moved to an implementation phase. So one of the things that became really important is how does a Gen AI COE become self-sustaining? So what are the models out there from a funding perspective that would allow the COE to help fund itself and to sustain its future, not just for now, but for the long term? At the same time, great to design a national Gen AI COE, great to do an op model for an incubator, but how do we get started? So how do we quickly stand up infrastructure and begin to build POCs and get them to scale? We were able to, in 10 weeks time or so, use an infrastructure accelerator called AI Core, which is essentially, if you believe in such things as an AI incubator in a box, install that in a secure way on Ukrainian infrastructure in about 6 weeks time, 5 weeks time, and then deliver the first POC, which I'll tell you more about in a minute, but was an open data validator to enable open data to be curated and put out into society for value rapidly. But if you want to see the design of Ukraine's AI Center of Excellence, it's as good a national design as I've seen in my career. So you might find this really interesting. Everything that's in the center of the circles are the things that the National Gen AI COE is doing or will do eventually. The things that are in the dashed lines are the things that came out of the gate first. And none of the partners are standing still. We're all delivering. So what was interesting about this is we were kind of designing this not from an ivory tower, but as we were getting on a moving train where 3 nations were basically trying to bring together their best thinking to help with this design. You will see in the lower right-hand corner some of the things and the ambition of kind of Ukrainian AI. Their first 3 POCs were already in flight. One in the education space in terms of Maria, which I think both Oswin and Nelly alluded to, creating a chatbot capability, which is now advanced even farther within DIA, which is an incredible example of a global citizen self-service application. And then this legislative translation and analysis in terms of Ukraine's EU ambitions and understanding the legislation in Ukraine versus the multi-language kind of legislative rules in the EU, right? So all really great POCs, all in train. The idea, though, was could we create an infrastructure, not just something that would allow time to value, faster development of POCs to scale, but create a kind of cultural place where those that gather to work in AI could increasingly do that using the same type of interface, the same types of flexible controls to get a kind of consistency, if you will, of behavior and collaboration. So I think that's the other thing that was so useful about moving into incubator. And what I love about this is I sometimes do the design of operating models that I get to see live, and that's lovely, but I don't always get to design them and then become a part of their delivery, nor do partnerships. So I think one of the things that's really interesting about this is end-to-end in terms of what's being delivered. So the particular 4th POC, which isn't on that list, is how do we and see what you think. There's a virtuous circle here, I think, in AI solving its own problem. How do we use AI to enable the quality availability of data so that AI can do more for us from a position of value? That's what I really like about this POC. And the particular problem here was from a Ukrainian perspective, as in a lot of nations, there is a kind of strategic reliance on open data to drive value. I think in Ukraine, over certainly $1 billion is expected to go into GDP, much more than that, I think. And that is really against a backlog of exposing data sets, needing to get them out so that they could be used for value, but not having enough talented professionals in the center to help business owners that own those business sets, the data sets that aren't particularly technical, get them curated and then released so that they can be used. So you can see some statistics here, sort of 3 FTEs nationally in Ukraine to do that work, really talented practitioners. I'm really proud of what they do, but having to undertake sometimes 70 checks with a business or a data set owner that could take up to 30 minutes to complete. And with a growing backlog of 42,000 data sets, you do that simple math, that's a 3-year problem to solve. And that assumes that your data set volume doesn't get any bigger. So how can we use AI to enable our civil service and deliver value for society? How can we, deploy that problem here? How can we resolve that problem? So basically, we created an AI coach that coaches in 2 directions. It works with data set owners to help them understand what things they might be able to do and control to stage their data set and get it ready. So that essentially took a 70-minute process down to a 5-minute process or so on their level at POC level. And then for more complicated data related issues in metadata or whatever it might be, those problems were able to go to our actual, data moderators in the center of Ukraine with help from the AI and some coaching to say, look, we've had to look at this data set. There's a metadata issue here, and the advice is that you do this to resolve the metadata issue. And that essentially, as I mentioned, takes a 3-year problem. If you do the simple math, 70 minutes to 3 or 4 minutes, it turns it from a 3-year problem to a 12-week problem or a 3-month problem. And I think those are the kind of headlines we all want and expect as people from AI and Gen AI. We don't always get those. This is being scaled now as we speak, but I think there's a lot of reasons to be kind of interested in this one and the entire journey from Gen AI COE inception in 3 or 4 months to being able to deliver credibly POCs to beginning scale in 10 weeks or so like this. And maybe to close, the second POC that we're on with is as a trilateral partnership designing an administrative service center accelerator for those that sit in these really critical service provision centers in Ukraine. How can we have an AI coach alongside them as they're encountering higher volumes of service requests, or maybe they're a newer civil service administrator or civil servant? We're in the process now of implementing that coach within Ukraine in Ukrainian, but I know the other 2 partners, Estonia and the UK, are looking at that as a real test bed for a civil service accelerator, regardless of what nation you live in. So watch that space. We expect to be able to deliver the results of that POC certainly by the end of March, and hope to have similar success with that as we did with the open data moderator.
Thank you, Eric.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's me. I was just going to pause for questions. Back to you, Tim.
Brilliant. Thank you, Eric. I'm just going to remind the audience, I think we've probably got time for one question. We're running out of time a little bit, but if you want to put a question in the Q&A box up at the top there, we'll come to those in a second. Eric, I was going to ask you a question a little bit similar to the question I put to Nelly at the beginning. It was really good to see in those slides this centre of excellence and obviously the work which you've been mapping out to create this digital government. But for companies listening to this who want to get involved in that, what's the best way and what are the main areas where you as the sort of architect of all of this see help is needed?
Yeah, well, I think there's a few ways to get involved. One is, I think, and I'm watching Nelly's face as I say this, Ukraine has a really clear pipeline of POCs and things that they wish to do in terms of their national ambition. So one of the things that interested partners should do is get a sense for what those are, why they're important, and then think about where you may have capabilities to advance them quickly. My experience in working within the trilateral partnership, all 3, and certainly Ukraine, is there is rapidity and practicality. So if you have a solution that can solve a problem that meets a kind of Ukrainian interest, they will be very interested in having a conversation with you. The other thing is trust and practicality. So we kind of had collaboration in this partnership with a big C, right, across all the governments, and that was hard enough and cool enough to get going. But we have collaboration with a little c, and what I would say is the kind of trust and the ability to have practical conversations around delivery is a kind of secret factor in at least our success in working in the partnership. And I'm kind of looking at Oswin as I say that, but you can have a really human interaction with colleagues in Ukraine in this partnership. So I would say make yourself known, understand what those partnerships are, and then pitch what you can do, and good things will happen.
Fantastic, thank you. And yeah, I think thanks, Nelly. It looks like you agree with that as well. Brilliant. Well, I think we've probably just got a couple of minutes there. We'll just go over with a couple more questions. So we haven't had any time for audience questions yet, but if you do want to put questions in the Q&A box, you've got the opportunity there. The concept of building a digital government, I think, is a really fascinating concept, and it's a challenge, frankly, every government faces, and I know the government in the UK is facing as well. I wonder whether I could just come round and almost get a quick fire answer from each of you as to what your advice would be for how the UK government can best learn from what you've been doing in Ukraine, and maybe a little bit of a pitch for how they can support what you're doing. So I'll come to Nelly first on that. What's your advice?
Yeah, I would say that the advice to the UK government and to the companies in general is not to be afraid of taking some risks. And we said it a couple of times that during our business trip, so I think Osman and Eric heard it already, that for Ukraine now is the biggest risk is not to take any risks. And I think that it also applies to the other countries given our current circumstances and geopolitical context. And it applies also to businesses. And I think that here is the great time to build this real public-private partnerships where private partners can help governments build what's best for citizens.
Brilliant, thank you. And I love that. The biggest risk is not doing anything at all. I think absolutely spot on. Oswin, could I come to you for what's your advice on for the UK government, how they could learn from what's happening in Ukraine?
Yes, I'm happy to. I think building on what Nelly says, the focus on a real problem, I think, is key, because if you think about, maybe even local or national level contact centers of the government where citizens are literally calling but not able to get any response, they're literally today not able to have their needs served in ways because not of resources or whatever, is that maybe a space where it could make sense to take some of that risk and say, hey, at the moment we're just not able to even do this. Should we use some of these new technologies, whether it be a voice agent or text or whatever, to try out where they can fill that gap? But that requires figuring out where those problems are, rather than just wanting to kind of do it all at once.
Yeah, again, great advice. I think that's often the problem that we see, or the challenge we see, is that businesses start with the sexy bit. They want to do a chatbot, or they want to do everything without actually framing the problem. So exactly what you were saying there, frame the problem first, understand what you were trying to achieve, and then everything else will come from that. And Eric, same question to you. What's your advice on what the UK government can learn from the experiment in Ukraine?
Thank you. In a way, my answer is easier because I think the UK government's already been really thoughtful about how it can learn in this process by entering the partnership. So there are well-established mechanisms bilaterally and trilaterally to do exactly what you're suggesting, Tim. So I think all three governments, but the UK in particular via the FCDO and DCIT, have been really switched on in terms of the partnership is more than just a delivery system. It's a learning system. So, and I think built into the SLAs and ROI for each of the partners is what are we bringing back and what is each nation gaining? So whenever we decide what to do and fund as a partnership, that conversation occurs first. And there is a kind of agreement across the table among the three partnerships on this is a worthy thing for us all. Here's what we can contribute and here's what each one of us can learn. So I think that's great. I think the other thing I've noticed in terms of the trilateral is the co-investment among the three governmental partners has actually led to some co-investment from private sector partners. So you kind of have collaboration and investment and co-funding at the governmental level, encouraging a kind of ecosystem of trust where you have private sector partners that are saying, I would also like to benefit from this partnership. I may co-invest with you, please, trilateral partnership to deliver a thing, and I will also benefit. So I think that other thing that is built into this trilateral is how do we create an ecosystem where there's confidence for the private sector to begin to invest in and benefit, but solve some of these governmental problems. I think that's also a really switched on thing that's happening.
Yeah, amazing. Lots there. There's so much we could carry on and discuss. I've got lots of questions I'd love to put to all of you. Unfortunately, we're out of time now, and then they were over by a couple of minutes. But it really has been enlightening to hear so much about what has been happening in Ukraine and how advanced it is now. There's so much for the UK and other countries, I think, to learn from this as we're all approaching how we can embed AI into our government and into our national systems. But I think what I'm hearing loud and clear is that it has to be very citizen focused. And that's what all of you have said in different ways is, it has to be about the adoption and about making it very human, very citizen led. There'd be some great case studies that you've all shared there. And I think, setting out this centre of excellence in a very collaborative way, as Eric, you were alluding to at the end there, that's actually the best way to learn. So I'm really hopeful that from this is very much the beginning, and we can bring in more British companies and engage with more Ukrainian companies to really build on this collaboration and work together. So I'd like to thank all of our speakers today. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Oswin. Thanks, Nelly.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Bye-bye.
I look forward to speaking again soon. And thank you to our audience.